Hello everybody and welcome back to our YouTube channel. I hope that everything is on your interest and I really hope that this video will also be something of your own interest. As you all may know, a microenterprise company here in Romania was a really good choice, and it might be a really good choice, especially for those ones that are still in the beginning and that are starting this kind of business, especially because microenterprise has low taxes. But with all these fiscal changes and often fiscal changes, I may say, because each 6 months we have a fiscal change, unfortunately there is no prediction in how the things will be changed in the future. And now we should analyze the situation of a microenterprise for you to know if it's still a good choice and option in 2026 compared with the situation in 2025. So stay with me and let's debate this along this video. I will make you a really short story about microenterprise, because in 2020-2021 it was the best choice that you could have had. It was 1% or 3% tax on income, the ceiling was 1 million euro, and the tax on dividends was 5% at that time. But due to the pandemic, due to all the loans that Romania had and other situation on public space, we have some modifications, some changes, and this started with 2023, when the ceiling of the for the turnover for a microenterprise dropped down from 1 million euro to 500,000 euro. In 2024, even more, the ceiling was 250,000 euro. And now for 2026, the ceiling is 100,000 euro. So basically, in less than 3 years, the ceiling from 1 million euro dropped down to 100,000 euro. This is somehow bad, somehow good for small businesses only. Also, some changes that took place were like this. If in the beginning you could have had 3% tax on income with no employee, now you can have 3% tax only if you have one employee with full-time job. And now let's take a look on the tax owned as a micro company, and let's calculate them for a micro enterprise at the level of 2025, and after that to compare it with 2026 situation. This is to determine how cheap can be a micro enterprise. So we'll take into consideration as example an IT company. This is due to the fact that we need to simplify the calculations. And for sure, we will not take into consideration any expense. So everything is calculated only based on the incomes, not expenses. Now, turning back to our example, what I may say is like this. If you have an IT company, you have from the very beginning, 3% tax on income, because 1% tax on income, unfortunately, is not possible anymore because, again, to the frequent change of the law, they said like this in 2024, if I'm not wrong, you can have 1% tax excepting these activities, and one of it was IT activity and health, and there are some other sectors, another 2 sectors. Now Even on the other case, you could have had 1% only if you had a turnover up to 60,000 euro. After that amount, you would have switched to 3% anyway. But in both cases, you should have an employee full-time job, at least on the minimum salary. So, to simplify the calculations, we took IT company because we have 3% tax since the beginning, and one employee on the minimum salary that we have here in Romania, which is 4,050 RON, more or less 800 euro. What is important to remember as well in IT company, the fact that until 2024 we had an exemption for not paying tax on income for for salaries that were up to 10k RON, but now unfortunately we don't have this exception anymore. So you pay tax on income on salary no matter how much or how small is the salary of an employee. So that's why we took into consideration the minimum salary and not other salary. Let's go to business right now and to calculations more exactly, and let's see exactly how much you will pay. Let's start with tax on income, which is 3% applied to 250,000 euro, means that you'll have to pay a tax on income of 7,500 euro. So this means that your net profit, it will be 242,500 euro as net income. From this, you need to deduct the salary and the taxes on salaries. What I may tell you is that to have a higher percentage on your yard, basically on your pocket, you can be also your own employee. That means that the salary, the net salary for the employee, will be added to the net profit that you will have after all the taxes, and I will show you in the end how it can be done. And coming back to the taxes on salary, you know that here in Romania we pay like this. Health insurance, which is 10%, in this case 972 euro, and also pension, which is 25% applied to the brute salary, which in this case is 2,430 euro. So basically health insurance and pension, you will have to pay 3,402 euro. Basically now the net salary before the tax on income is 6,318 euro. After applying 10% tax on income, which is 632 euro, you'll have a net salary of 5,686 euro. So basically the last amount that I said to you, 5,686, can be added to your final profit from the company. Do not forget that for salaries, you'll have to pay a contribution also as a company, which is called CAM, mandatory asiguratory contribution, which is 2.25% from the brute salary, and in this case will mean 219 euro. So we had tax on income, we had salary and taxes on salaries. Let's see what is the remains, the annual remains, which in this case is 232,561 euro. Of course that I will assume that you want to withdraw dividends and to make this money yours. In this case, I can tell you that in 2025 the tax on dividend is 10%, which will mean around 23,256 euro as tax on income. So this leaves you a net profit of 209,305 euro. And because the net dividend that you withdraw from the company exceeds the limit of 24 minimum salaries, you'll have to pay also health insurance again, but this time as you as individual, but we will take into consideration that expense as well because it's something that you will cover from somewhere, some money. So we will assume that you will cover from the money that you took in the company. Basically in your pocket it would be also less without this. In this case, the health insurance is 1,944 euro. So after all the taxes that you will pay here in Romania, your net profit will be of 207,361 euro. So these are the money that are left in your pocket. And because I spoke of so many taxes, I will review them a little bit in order for you to have a clear image of all the taxes that you pay here in Romania. We have like this: tax on microenterprise, which is 3% in this case, and means 7,500 euro. Taxes on salary, which are 4,034 euro. Mandatory contribution, which is 219 euro. Tax on dividends, which is 23,256 euro. And health insurance for you as individual after taking the dividends, which is 1,944 euro. So the total tax that you'll pay here in Romania is 36,953 euro. Okay, you pay so many taxes, but what you will have left? Oh, let's see also this situation. As I previously told you, there is an amount that is left after all the taxes are paid, and this is 207,361 euro. And to this, you can add your net wages, which is 5,686 euro. Basically, the total revenue collected is 214,047 euro, which means that you'll be left with more than 85% of the amount that we started to discuss in the beginning. More exactly is 85.21% of the amount that we made the calculations. But be aware that this is only for 2025, because starting with 2026, the situation, it will be totally changed. Why I'm telling you this right now? Because it's really important for you to understand if it's still a good choice, a good option, the microenterprise, or maybe you will search for SRL or PFA. Why not? Because we have both options as well. So let's see a little bit what is changed for microenterprise in 2026. And the first tax that is changed is the tax on dividend, which will grow up from 10% to 16%. This means more than 6% that you lose from your money, and it's a little bit too much. And secondly, do not forget that the ceiling of the turnover in 2026 drops down from 250,000 euro to 100,000 euro. So if at the end of December 2025, you will have a turnover of 250,000 euro, unfortunately, starting with 2026, you'll apply tax on profit starting with the first quarter. So be really attentive and inform your accountants if you already have a company here, or it's really important for you to know how to make the calculation and the cash flow and everything for 2026. Now let's see when it's still worth it to still be a micro enterprise. And from my point of view, this is worth it only in the case in which you have services and you don't have too many expenses, when you have a small business that is not growing so fast, or when you are doing something in which you don't need too many headaches. And in this case, micro enterprise is still a good option. Otherwise, I will invite you to think again and to rethink and remake your strategy for 2025, and watch our channel, because I will publish in a few days some calculations also about the PFA, and you will see that is something like a self-employed, and you will see that in that case, starting from 2026, it's one of the best choice that we have here in Romania. So in the end, what do you have to do and what are the steps for the next year? First of all, to review the financial projections for 2025-2026, and if your turnover will be higher than 100,000 euro in 2026, then to search for options in 2026. To do a tax simulation in both cases, microenterprise, tax on profit and PFA. And for sure to monitor the ceiling for not be in the situation in which you cannot do anything. For sure, microenterprise will not disappear starting with 2026, but it will be more advantageous for certain categories of activity fields and people. So take a close look to your plans and see if it's still worth it to make a microenterprise, or why not take into consideration other options that we will have here in Romania starting with 2026 or even now in 2025. I hope that you liked my video. If you have any questions, you can put them in the comments area, and I hope that in the future I will give you more and more informative videos like this. Thank you very much and have a nice day.